Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the patch notes for patch 5.0c for Wild Rift. This will probably be the last patch of the 5.0 cycle until we get to patch 5.1, which is coming out 11th of April. There's still about 3 to 4 weeks between that timeline. I'm not too sure if there's going to be a patch 5.0d. We'll have to wait and see, but this most likely will be the last patch for this cycle. And again, it's another great patch in my opinion. A great changes to some items, to champions. We finally got the release date for Kindred as well. So yeah, let's head straight into it and explain all the changes that are going on. So yeah, Kindred, loads of people have been asking me, when's Kindred coming out? You can see the date here, 29th of March. So not too long away, actually 2 weeks away until Kindred gets released, so we don't have to wait too much longer now for Kindred. I think Kindred's going to be a great champion to play. Really interested to see how the passive works with gaining stacks and gaining extra stats overall throughout the game. Again, a champion that I'm very, very excited about. We've got some events, Nautilus Pass, whatever this is, some pass with the new Warden skins, I guess. Kindred's Trivia, which is Kindred's one, and then also Name That Champion, which is, I'm guessing, one of them ones where they have to try and guess the champion by like the shadows and everything, which this is kind of a cool mini game. It's obviously Kindred's release and then some Nautilus Pass ones. So some nice events to keep us going. Events have been pretty good. I think the new Ramadan event recently is also pretty fun. The controls are a bit janky, but it's nice to run around with a Poro just smashing a bunch of drums everywhere. Right, let's get to the important part. Champion changes. First champion is Brom. Honestly, Brom is one of them weird champions, right? I think Brom is very situational, where he's really good against a lot of melee champions, but then he's also not very good against a lot of ranged champions. So he's a very enemy team, defiant champion. Whereas like if you're against like, I don't know, melee top, melee jungle, melee mid, and then melee support, for example, then Brom is excellent because of his ultimate, because of his passive and everything else. In terms of other matchups, he's not really going to be as good because he can't get into range. Also, the problem is with Brom is that he doesn't really have a rune in Wild Rift. He doesn't really have a keystone. In PC League, they use like Guardian, for example, which is a really nice one. Brom doesn't really have anything. Aftershock only gets procced on his ultimate, and that's about it. And maybe his passive. And the same with Glacial Augment. Again, only his ultimate and also his passive. So there's not really any nice runes for Brom, and I think that's why he's in a difficult spot. They are buffing him ever so slightly. They're giving him attack damage for some reason, which I'm not really too sure why, but 4 attack damage is pretty nice, I guess. Extra base mana in the early game I think is very nice. It means that he can use his first ability more often to try and poke and try and stack his passive, which is quite nice. Passive time, stunning time on concussive bows, again going up. Normally 1 to 1.5, now 1.25 to 1.75. That's nice. Unbreakable as well, damage reduction also going up. This is a pretty high amount as well that's going up by even late game. 50% damage reduction on the shield now, which is really, really huge. And also you get an extra little bit of movement speed as well. So overall, some pretty nice changes to Brom. Again, I think he's a champion that is good in the right scenarios, but can also feel really, really bad in bad scenarios. So I think this will definitely keep him up there as still a champion that you can play if the right scenario comes around. Graves, on the other hand, is just a terrible champion overall. I mean, this champion hasn't been good for quite some time now, to be honest with you. These are some nice changes. Base health going up is really nice. Attack damage might not seem like a lot, but because of his passive and the way his auto attacks work, this base attack damage actually going to be quite a big difference. This is quite nice because in the early game, you can actually go for some trades now where, in Scuttle Crabs or anything like that. Whereas before, you couldn't really take early game trades or any early game skirmishes because Graves was just super weak, just didn't do any damage or didn't have any base health. So 2 really nice buffs to Graves. Really excited to see how he is going to perform in the patch. Jace, I think this is an error. I'm not too sure what the base mana is going to. It might be 320. They might be lowering the amount of the base mana. I'm not really too sure. We'll have to see when the actual full patch notes come out. Health per level is going up to make him a little bit tankier. Armor per level is also going up, making him a little bit tankier. Maybe this is also 420 as well. This could also be another thing. So yeah, making him a bit more tanky with health per level and also armor per level. This is pretty big as well. Well, it does seem pretty big until you actually take it into account. So the full duration of your third ability acceleration gate in rage form is normally 3 seconds at every single rank. Now it's going up to 4.5 seconds. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, does this mean you can use the shot blast acceleration gate twice in one acceleration gate. Unfortunately, you still can't. The shock blast duration in terms of the cooldown is still about 5 to 6 seconds. So you're still not going to have that duration where you can use one acceleration gate and then use double shot blast on that same acceleration gate. So yeah, a little bit unfortunate there, but it doesn't mean that he can give his team and himself a little bit more movement speed if need be. So again, some interesting changes to Jace. Again, Jace is a champion I thought was already strong, but they're just buffing him even more, I guess. Not really too sure why. I think it's one of them champions where like lower elo players don't really understand how to utilize him the best, whereas high elo players, I think, know the best how to utilize him. Kennen's an interesting one. I think he's been strong for quite some time now, but again, it's another weird champion where he's very strong during the early game and he's really strong at just picking players off and picking people off guard. But as long as someone on your team takes exhaust, and every single time Kennen walks forward and uses his Slicing Maelstrom, his ultimate, you just press the exhaust button and his damage and his movement speed has been reduced by a lot. So that kind of negates a lot of the damage coming out from Kennen. So I think this actually might just kind of destroy Kennen. Because again, most AD carries run exhaust anyway. You do have to get into range of exhaust with Kennen. But again, it's really easy to like kind of predict when Kennen's going to use his ultimate. So you can easily flash away or dash away or anything like that. But I think in the early game, he was quite good. And also his stats in China are just absolutely disgusting. Like his win rate in China is pretty insane. Bonus movement speed on third ability going down. Quite nice. They do like a little cheese in China where they use Lightning Rush and then use the auto attacks and the second ability to like quickly proc electrocute to get quick trade damage. So this going down and also the base damage going down means that you can't really do that combo as often, which is quite nice. And its life emotion damage per 0.5 seconds is going down from 30 to 90 base to now 20 to 90 base. So you're not going to really feel the impact with Kennen at level 5 anymore. And also the ability power ratio is going down. So really trying to kind of nerf Kennen in the early game. In terms of the late game, the stats have not really changed too much. You know, you don't really feel the difference in your damage with Lightning Rush in the late game, and the ultimate base damage is still there, even though the ability power ratio has gone down by 2%. But mainly trying to attack more of the early game aspect, with, you know, level 5 going down by 10. Overall, I think Kennen is, like I said, a champion that is strong if you know how to use him. Again, I think he does fall off a little bit though. Lee Sin finally, after a few buffs in a row, is being nerfed. Base health is not going to really mean anything at all. To be honest with you, 650 to 630 doesn't really do anything. The big thing is his ultimate, even though the damage values are not really changing too much, all they're doing is changing his base damage from 300 to 250 and then 500 to 400. I still think that Lee Sin will probably one-shot you with his ultimate, to be honest with you. Even though the base damage is going down, I still think Lee Sin's ultimate is still going to destroy you. But yeah, that's Lee Sin for you. Just first strike, dash in, one shot, boom, dead. That's pretty much it. Morgana, they're still trying to make Morgana support a thing. It's really not going to work. I mean, Morgana support is just terrible. Like, it's so awful. Like, they're trying to basically destroy Morgana jungle by not nerfing the damage to monsters on Tormented Shadows down to 195% now, which I still think is quite high and I still think will be okay, but it means Morgana can't clear through the jungle as quick as what she does now, which she is one of the fastest jungle clears in the entire game for sure. Black Shield duration going from 4 seconds up to 5 seconds. Whip-de-doo, yay, Morgana support is now going to be a thing. I mean, Black Shield doesn't really do anything. Like, you mainly use it on yourself. It's pretty much gone within 1 second if someone like a Syndra or an Ahri just uses your combo on you. This doesn't really do anything at all. I'll be totally honest with you. This is just nerfing jungle Morgana and just not doing anything to buff support Morgana. That's that. Nautilus, again, getting another buff. I feel like some of these champions just, you see every single patch right now, they're just trying to buff them over and over again, which is pretty insane. Now the nerf buffing Nautilus' second ability, shield value, the base value is staying the same, but the percentage maximum health shield that you get has been buffed by 1% at every single rank. Pretty nice, since that with Nautilus, with support Nautilus, you normally go for quite a bunch of HP, things like Warmogs, Dead Man's Plate, Force of Nature, even Zeke's Convergence now that has health, so The more health you get, the more shield you're going to get with your second ability. And also the damage has gone up ever so slightly as well. The base damage has gone up. So it will help him in his jungle clear if you want to play Nautilus jungle, or it might help him just do a little bit damage during the laning phase. So again, pretty nice change here to Nautilus. I think he's already a pretty strong champion again. But yeah, just a small few buffs, nothing too crazy. Seraphine probably getting some of the biggest changes in my opinion this patch. I think the Seraphine is a champion that you could carry the game if you land like the perfect ultimate, like the perfect scenario ultimate. But other than that, she doesn't really offer too much else. They're trying to buff support Seraphine by buffing her second ability. Duration going down, really nice. Bonus move speed going up to 2.75%, 27.5% now is pretty big. 7% increase there. Well, more than 7%. And 20, like 30% increase basically in the movement speed at max level, which is pretty nice. Base shield going up, which is also really nice. Even though the ability power ratio goes down, but that's okay. The base shield value going up is really nice. And also the healing going up. This might not seem like a lot, just like, you know, 10% increase basically, or a bit above 10% increase. Doesn't really do too much, you might think, but this actually scales with how many champions are around you with the healing of Seraphine. So 1% actually might make a lot of difference. So Seraphine support might be a thing now. I might have to give her a try because Seraphine is one of my favorite champions for sure. But yeah, really nice changes there to Seraphine. Kindred nerf, no real surprise. Champion's been incredibly strong now since they did the buffs a couple of patches ago. Ability power increase when gaining 120 splinters of Wraith. That's gone from 15% down to 12%. This only really comes into effect like late in the game. So like very late into the game. So most of the game you won't really be able to feel this effectiveness. But maybe they felt like when Kindred gets to this point of the game, she is just way too strong that no one else can deal with her. That's why they're nerfing that. And then also the cooldown is getting changed. The cooldown is actually going down on the second ability, and then the base damage is going down ever so slightly. So cooldown second ability is quite nice, but the base value is going down by quite a bit. You know, early game is not too much, like 5, 10, 15 changes here. Ability power ratio is pretty big. You have to remember with your second ability, if you don't pick up a sphere that's already on the floor, you're losing like 40% or 30% of the damage. So this is a nerf to the second ability, of course, but also it's more of a nerf if you miss or if you don't pick up a sphere at the same time. It's like a double nerf basically if you use Syndra that way. But obviously using your second ability means that you can use your third ability at further range. Talon damage to monsters going down. This is no surprise. Talon jungle is I honestly think Talon jungle is probably faster than Morgana jungle right now in terms of jungle clear speed because of the bleed effect and everything as well. You can see the bleed effect. The passive damage to monsters is going down from 120 down to 90%. Really nice. And they're just increasing Talon speed vaulting over terrain. Pretty big nerf to Talon jungle. I still think he'll probably be playable. Talon's always been a champion that, in my opinion, was supposed to be a jungler in the first place when he first got released into League of Legends, but then he just got put into the mid lane. Yeah, I still think he'll be okay. Volibear could disable the Nexus. I didn't know that was a thing, but he can now no longer disable Nexus. Cool. And then we got some new updates on the Wukong change. Some new 21st of March is coming out, the Wukong updates. That's next week. So next week we have Wukong, and then the week after we have Kindred, which is pretty nice. But there are some details here that we didn't know before. Most of this is pretty much the same. I think they're just going down in terms of little details with like damage numbers, etc. Base health regen going up. We know the passive has changed now to now Wukong gains stacks of stone skin. Each stack grants him armor and magic, max health regeneration every 5 seconds. It stacks up to 3 times. We knew about this already. Golden Star first ability, the health regen has been removed because it's now on the passive. There's a new passive of the first speed. So Golden Staff adds an empowering effect on Wukong's basic attacks. Okay. Every 12 seconds. So we knew that it was an empowering effect that Wukong would get, but we didn't know what it actually was. So this has more detail now. On Wukong's base attacks every 12 seconds. Takedowns will reduce Golden Star's passive cooldown by 2 seconds. Okay, so if you get like 2 kills, it goes down by like 4 seconds, which is okay. The cooldown of the passive will be reduced by 2 seconds per level, and killing enemy champions will refresh the cooldown. Wait a second. The cooldown of the passive will be reduced by 2 seconds per level. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 2, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Does that mean that level 7, this passive has a 0-second cooldown? I'm not too sure if that's right or not. The cooldown of the passive will be reduced by 2 seconds per level. I'm not 100% sure what this means. It's a little bit confusing because I'm not too sure if this means like... Yeah, I don't really know about this, to be fair. I mean, this is confusing. This looks like it means every single time that Wukong levels up. Oh, no, it's per level of the first ability. It says 4 levels of the first ability. So every single time you level up, it's going down by 2 seconds. So it'll go from 12 seconds down to 10 seconds. And then 10 seconds down to 8 seconds, and 8 seconds down to 6 seconds. Okay, so lowest that the first ability passive can go to is 6 seconds. I believe so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4. Or maybe it's not 6 seconds. Maybe it's 4 seconds. I'm not too sure if the first level up counts or not. There's 4 levels for an ability, so it can go down by 8 seconds. So that's 4 seconds. So this could possibly go down to 4 seconds, which is really, really big. Damage and power and basic attack also going up. Passive damage is going up. The attack damage ratio is going up. Interesting. Okay, so I mean, I think this ability and also the passive is just completely busted in my opinion, but that's me. Also, you're probably going to max your first ability as well, especially if you're playing Wukong in laning phase. That's another thing. I knew that the clone can now move the joystick. We already knew this already. We already knew this as well. Multiple dashes to the same target. Nimbus cloak damage is also going up. What the hell is that base damage? Nimbus cloak's damage is also going up by like 20 at every single rank. This is 35 bonus. What? Okay, that's kind of insane. Cyclone damage also going up. Oh yeah, targets maximum health, so it does more damage to maximum health. Okay, interesting. We got some more details, which is quite nice for Wukong. I think Wukong's going to be so busted, by the way. I think this champion's going to be like the best Baron lane champion in the game by far. Like, I don't think no one's going to be able to compete with him, but we'll see. I mean, these changes, reading them, look very, very scary. Yuumi, some nerfs to Yuumi. Nothing really changes, though, with Yuumi. I thought that Yuumi wasn't going to be as strong since the rework that they did to her, but it seems like she is just as powerful. They're trying to reduce some of the damage that you and me gives to an ally champion, and also the cooldown's been increased on the ultimate, and also the root duration's gone down. I think the annoying thing with Yuumi is just her healing. I think that's the most annoying thing with her. No one really cares too much about extra damage that she gives to an ally. It's mainly like the shielding from the passive and also the healing. I think that's the 2 most annoying things, but they haven't touched any of them, so I think Yuumi will still be fine. Okay, on to item changes. This is where shit gets interesting. I mean, I'm reading this first change already and I'm in love with it. I'm in love with this already. Berserker Grease never gets built on any champion at all. I mean, this probably the worst boots in the entire game, in my opinion. Close with boots lucidity. Attack damage going up by 2. It doesn't really mean too much, but the attack speed going up by 5% is really, really big. So you got so if you compare this to Gluttonous Grease now, this has 20 AD and 35% attack speed. Gluttonous Grease has 35 attack damage and also the 10% Omnivamp. I think this might be better on some AD carries now. I'm thinking champions like Vayne, or champions just wants attack speed in general. Vayne, it could be really, really good. Trying to think of other attack speed carries that might be insanely good. Like more late game carries. Twitch, it could also be pretty good on as well. I think late game carries that want a lot of attack speed are going to really benefit from this buff. I'll definitely have to test this and see what it's like, but I'm really excited for this change. Divine Sunderer buff, after them buffing Trinity Force over and over again, they now decided to buff Divine Sunderer. 3,400 gold now instead of 3,450, and the maximum health goes up by 25, so nice change there. Gargle Stoneplate change is pretty interesting. You gain a shield that absorbs damage. The damage reduction is now, or the shield, sorry, is now 25% of your maximum health instead of 20%. It's now only on a 60-second cooldown, but this is probably the biggest change here. If the shield breaks early, the damage reduction will end. So when you use Gargle Stoneplate, when you use it, you actually deal less damage. And that's why a lot of players just don't really build this. They mainly just build on support, because damage and support doesn't really mean too much. You just want to get like the tankiness. But when that shield breaks now, the damage reduction will end. Before, it actually didn't matter if the shield ended early, the damage reduction will still happen throughout the whole duration. But now the damage reduction will end as soon as the shield breaks early, which I think is a really, really big change to Gargoyle. Also, it being on 60-second cooldown, 15 seconds less cooldown, again, I think is really, really big. I think Stoneplate's back to being a pretty strong boots upgrade for tanks especially. Buffs again to Spiro Shojin as well. We get 5% less movement speed, but that's fine because now we have a new passive, Rising Dragon, which gives us 5% movement speed. So we got 5% movement speed passively for buying the item in the first place. And then this is when we proc the passive, you know, after using ultimate. So after using ultimate, your base abilities will now be on cooldown for 10 seconds. And you can now refresh the abilities to cooldown within 10 seconds again by getting a takedown, which is really nice. And then you just gain less movement speed. But they're just making it so more champions find this more viable, because 10 seconds is a bit of a longer time than 8 seconds. So you have an opportunity to actually make full effect of the basic abilities going on less cooldown, basically, which is quite nice. Storm Rave's a buff. I'm pretty excited about this one. 15 more base damage early on and 15 more base damage late game. And the slow is now for 0.75 seconds. I'm all for this. I'm all for this. I mean, Storm Razor has not really been an item for quite some time, to be fair. I think some champions could buy Storm Razor. Like Caitlyn, you could buy Storm Razor plus Magnetic Blaster. But other than that, there's no really other champion that builds Storm Razor. So I'm all for this, for giving this a try again. And this is probably the biggest item change in this patch. You might think, oh, the name of the passive has changed. It's changed from Rage to Valor. But then you're probably also bearing in mind is that Black Cleaver's passive is also Rage. So at the moment, you cannot build Black Cleaver and Trinity Force. Well, you can, but you're basically losing out on a passive and you're basically wasting money. But now you can actually buy Trinity Force and Black Cleaver as an item synergy. And when this got changed on PC League of Legends, everyone was building Trinity Force plus Black Cleaver because them items were insane at the time. And it got to a point where they had to actually nerf Black Cleaver, and now no one really builds the item anymore. But I think this might happen in Wild Rift, where players are now just going to build Trinity Force into Black Cleaver and just become insanely strong. Like, I think this combo is going to be so good on so many different champions, and I'm really excited again to test this out. Rune changes. There changes some runes. Hex Tech Flash Traption. I think this is really good in some scenarios, but they're just buffing it ever so slightly. So when you channel it for less than 1 second, you will dash the same distance where you channel 1 second. So you can kind of like tap the ability if you want to, and maybe just get like a shorter dash rather than waiting the whole time for a longer dash. This is an interesting one. Item crafting. Now, the reason why I said before that item crafting was really bad, I mean, this is one of the runes that I rated horribly on my tier list. Flash Traption I didn't rate too bad, but I was saying, like, there is no point of you, by the time you go back to base, you run to the lane, it's not worth spending an extra 150 gold on an item. Now, spending an extra 50 gold on an item, I can maybe dig with. I can dig with this, you know, just spending an extra 50 gold on an item might be pretty huge. This might be the change that item crafting need for it to be, you know, good. The problem is that there's just other runes that are just stronger than it. Like, that's just the kind of the key at the moment. There's other runes that are stronger than this one that a lot of people are just going to buy instead. And like I said, most of the time you want to go back to the base, you want to recover your health, you want to recover your mana. You don't want to stay on the rift for the entire time because you're not going to be able to make full use of, you know, using item crafting, and you're either going to run out of mana or run out of health. So I still don't think this rune's going to be used, but it's a nice change anyway. I think some people might give this a try. Maybe I'll give it a try as well. I think we have some skins here. The Wolf and Lamb Kindred skin, the April Fool's skin is going to be the release skin for Kindred, which is quite nice. Pajama Guardian cosplay Urgot's also coming out. Then we have the Battle Academy skins as well, with Warden Orsus coming out 21st of March. And then Warring Kingdoms Jarvan 4th at Mythic Chroma, also coming out March 21st. This will probably be a gacha skin. Wouldn't be surprised. But that's everything. Again, a pretty big patch. You know, these patches that are the A, B, and C patches are normally supposed to be small patches, but I feel like they've gone in a direction where they want to make these A, B, and C patches more worthwhile, and then extending the distance between every single big patch, like 5.0, 5.1, 5.2, etc., etc., which is quite good. Like I said, changes are pretty good. Might make some more champions viable. We'll have to wait and see. But as always, thank you for tuning into this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and let me know your favorite change for this patch, and I'll see you in the next Wilder video. Peace.